Hello dear readers and subscribers. Welcome to another video of our Contemporary Art Trends series where we identify and discuss some of the most important or most pertinent trends in the art world today. And in this video we're going to discuss the curtain as a very important leitmotif in the oeuvre of many artists working today. We're going to examine and briefly discuss the history and the meaning of the curtain and why it is being used and how it is being used, followed by 10 must-know artists revisiting the curtain today. There is something inexplicably appealing to painting a curtain, or the satisfying act of painting a curtain wet in wet, or seeing the almost optical illusion of fabric as if we can almost touch it. And this has been exciting art enthusiasts for decades. No, for centuries. Think of the heavy drapery of the Virgin Mary with Jan van Eyck, or the eternal quest for mimesis, the representation of nature and reality, which has its roots in ancient Greece, replicating the folds of the chiton tunics in bronze and marble, before being emulated in Michelangelo's Pietà or Giovanni Strazza veiled Virgin. The master can showcase skill in depicting fabric. But even more, beyond awing the viewer, it can also deceive, as we perceive something as fabric or soft while simultaneously it is pigment on linen or hard marble, exemplified by, for instance, the marble sculptures by Ryan Gander in the tradition of the aforementioned master sculptors. Yet, Gander does not illustrate his skill. In fact, he did not sculpt but outsourced this creation of these marble draperies. Gander showcases the wit and alchemy of art, being able to create something from something else. Stone turns into cloth, pigment into fabric, and this alchemical, transformational and almost magical aspect thrives when depicting drapery. Think of the trompe-l'œil paintings by Adriaan van der Speld and Rembrandt van Rijn, defying what's naturalistically possible in paint, and even experimenting with optical effects when it comes to the speciality of the canvas. Especially with the latter, Rembrandt, one notices a conscious exploration of Leonard Battista Alberti's perspective of painting as an open window. The concept of painting as a window has been revisited ever since Alberti's writings, and the curtain is able to open and close this window, while remaining a window to another world. As a result, the curtain is an exemplary motive to play with this speciality in painting, not only during the Italian Renaissance or the Dutch Golden Age, but throughout art history, shifting the perspectives on the waves of the ever-changing definition, understanding and development of art. Think of David Hockney's typical interplay with speciality and meta-painting, characteristic for meta-modernism, with, for instance, model with unfinished self-portrait, playing with two-dimensionality, perspectives, and windows within a window, using the curtain, a painting in a painting. But in the end, the painting is not a window, and Magritte's pipe is not a pipe, it's a depiction of a pipe. The curtain is therefore perhaps both the creator of illusion and the revealer of the so-called treachery of images, so it is no surprise that the curtain is another key motif of the Belgian surrealists, as he reveals the hollowness of the curtain and the absence of Alberti's window behind it, and simultaneously its function to conceal this inconvenient truth. Magritte was not shy to give away that painting is just a trick, a notion Gerhard Richter would revisit in his series of curtains and their uncanny resemblance to his series of corrugated iron and tubes, flirting in the 1960s as a photorealist painter with his inevitable fate of abstraction. Still, one must remember that Richter's curtains are titled Voorhang, which literally translates to hanging in front of. This brings us to a more romantic, symbolic, or even mundane aspect of the curtain. Its function to evoke privacy, secrecy, discretion, or intimacy. When the drapes are closed, something might happen, and when we are allowed to peek beyond them, we become voyeurs or even participants in the scene. Think of the curtain beds in medieval manuscripts, or Johannes Vermeer amplifying the intimacy of a scene of a woman reading a letter, most likely from her husband who was at sea considering the dangers and expanse of Dutch trading activities at the time, by letting us peep beyond that curtain and into her chamber. Even more, Vermeer has used the curtain for many of the reasons mentioned above. To show his skill, create depth and illusion, or simply because it contributes to the overall composition and color contrast. Think of the use of curtains throughout art history as a mere visual element for a more harmonious or powerful image, exemplified by, for instance, Jacques-Louis David's Sappho and Faun. Interestingly, all these aspects remain valid, they remain relevant in painting and sculpture today. with some artists opting to make the curtain one of the central motifs within their practice, as we'll illustrate by discussing these 10 must-know contemporary artists. First and foremost, Christo and Jean-Claude were renowned for their monumental public art installations which dramatically transformed familiar landscapes on a temporary basis. Using everyday materials such as fabric, rope and barrels, their works altered both urban and rural environments, creating unique shared experiences for the public. It is safe to say that the same appeal and the weight of the drapery and curtains reached new levels to see it on a much larger scale. By wrapping monuments, buildings, bridges, islands and more, Christo and Jean-Claude were creating these dramatic ephemeral entities, dematerializing a building or materializing a valley, giving substance to a space that does not exist. The latter took place on August 10, 1972 in Rifle, Colorado, with Valley Curtain, an almost immersive intervention using a curtain of almost 400 meters or 1,250 feet. Ulla von Brandenburg, born in 1974 in Karlsruhe, Germany, currently residing and working in Paris, is a contemporary artist working in black and white film, installation, performance, drawing and painting. Central to von Brandenburg's work is the use of theatrical elements, including stagecraft and performance rules, to engage with cultural and social issues from various historical periods. By examining how past rituals, symbols and stories shape contemporary society, she explores recurring themes and imagery, continually developing and reinterpreting them. At the heart of her practice is an exploration of boundaries between different states of consciousness, past and present, life and death, reality and illusion, concepts that naturally result in the prominent inclusion of the curtain. It symbolizes a transition from the real world to the world of theater. Beyond the curtain, the space and time have no limits. The space is a mental space, a playground of the unconscious, dreams and imagination. Louise Giovanelli, born in 1993 in London, United Kingdom, residing and working in Manchester, is a contemporary painter that breathes new life into historical subjects from the Western art canon through delicate, luminous paintings. Working in interconnected series, she explores specific moments or events using visual clues drawn from stage photographs, film stills, classical sculpture, and architectural elements. Her work is deeply aware of painting's historical role as both a medium and a system of representation. For Giovanelli, painting offers a way to pause and reflect, transforming the act of looking into a contemplative process. By looking at old masters and uncovering the different layers, she aims to achieve the greatest possible luminosity within this medium, making curtains, from monocolored curtains to disco plastic, an ideal subject. Simultaneously, she always seemed to create ambiguity within her imagery by not revealing the full picture. This can occur via drastic cropping strategies, placing one image on top of the other, or making a dramatic cut, or quite literally with a curtain, in the historical tradition of Richter's Vorhang series, which sets the stage. Dirk Braakman, born in 1958 in Eeklo, Belgium, residing and working in Ghent, has built an extensive body of work, primarily focused on photography, with more recent explorations in video as well. His large-scale, grey-toned images are often inspired by chance encounters with everyday scenes, presenting a reality that remains suggestive rather than explicit. His subjects range from distant seascapes and empty ballrooms to billowing curtains, antique wallpaper, and blurred nudes. Braakman's work emphasizes atmosphere, composition, light, and texture, creating a poetic experience for the viewer. By manipulating negatives through various techniques, his works possess a rare tactile quality that pushes the boundaries of photography. He views photography as the most subjective medium, offering not truth, but endless illusion, making the motif of the curtain once more an ideal stepping stone to achieve these goals. Edith de Kind, born in 1960 in Ypres, Belgium, residing and working between Brussels and Berlin, is a multidisciplinary artist working in video, sculpture, installation, drawing and sound, exploring timeless themes of light, time and space in subtle and nuanced ways. De Ghent's work demonstrates a deep fascination with physical phenomena and fleeting moments, often focusing on the transient qualities of materials. On numerous occasions, the curtain has been used for her installations by, for instance, letting the moisture from the floor creep its way up against graffiti and those vertical drapes, creating almost archaeological layers of decay and wear. But also by perforating a large velvet curtain with nails, creating a stark contrast between the cool hardness of the nails and piercing a delicate fabric. This particular installation references both the iron curtain that blocks the center's entrance and the way that fences are raised everywhere in the world. Patty Carroll, born in 1946 in Chicago, where the artist continues to work and reside, is an acclaimed photographer known for her vivid, highly saturated color images and the strong presence of drapery and curtains. Even more, her work has been copied or misused as source material by a vast number of lesser-known painters drawn to the depiction of curtains, illustrating both the power of her imagery and simultaneously the shameless desire and appropriation from artists across the globe to depict fabric. In her breakthrough series, Anonymous Women, she explores women's complex relationships with domesticity by camouflaging the female figure with drapery and domestic objects, creating a dark yet humorous dynamic of concealment. The anonymous woman becomes both a victim of and an invisible creator within her environment, embodying themes of obsession, activity, and circumstance. Mircea Suciu, born in 1978 in Baia Mare, Romania, lives and works in Cluj. His work is often focused on themes of anxiety, violence, and oppression. Through an eclectic selection of imagery, Suciu seeks to create iconic representations in a world saturated with visual content. By doing so, the artist reflects a deep interest in how images can be manipulated and their impact on society, shaped by his upbringing under a communist dictatorship. From this perspective, the curtain and drapery in general becomes an important visual element and symbolic construct in his artistic practice. Think of his Iron Curtain series dealing with his political background or using the curtain to explore more psychological issues with a universal or collective appeal. Justin Morin, born in 1979 in Mont-Saint-Martin, France, residing and working in Paris, is a contemporary artist and designer who is best known for his sculptures primarily using steel and silk, creating curtains, playing with the color spectrum, transparency and form. His work references a wide range of artistic traditions, from minimalism to the light and space movement. Morin's approach to sculpture emphasizes the expressive qualities of his materials, introducing a sensual, almost erotic dimension to an otherwise minimalist aesthetic. He often employs gradient compositions with influences spanning from fashion advertising to movie posters. By blending elements of art, fashion, and design, his work occupies an ambiguous space between the conceptual and the decorative. Ilke Kop, born in 1988, residing and working in Brussels, Belgium, is a contemporary artist and art historian working in painting and sculpture. She is best known for her enigmatic and often surreal paintings filled with nudes, self-portraits, mushrooms, landscapes, and the pertinent presence of drapery, questioning the classical image of man and the world and the role of contemporary female artists. It is no surprise to see such a strong presence of curtains and drapery in her painterly and sculptural practice, as Kop ran the acclaimed and sustainable fashion label Ilke Kop until 2021. Kop uses colored curtains as visual anchor points throughout her oeuvre, creating an intimate environment or a screen for her subjects and composition. Sean Huckins, born in 1984 in New Hampshire, residing and working in Denver, is a contemporary American painter recognized for his fusion of technical precision and satirical humor. His work reimagines classical American art, often incorporating textiles, fabrics, curtains, and text to reflect both an appreciation for American history and a critique of contemporary society. Drapery became increasingly important during his series titled Dirty Laundry, giving a satirical but poignant spin on Eva Juskowit's successful formula of wrapping faces and figures in textile and fabric, but replacing the historical and dramatic drapery with dirty laundry, questioning the security of our own concealments. Even more, in zippers short and skinny, silky fabrics and hand-woven latch-hook textiles merge with historical paintings of men and boys to confront the effects of rigid gender norms, which not only restrict the emotional expression and personal growth of individuals, but also contribute to systemic issues such as violence, discrimination, and inequality. A series marked by curtain paintings from which a figure or hand emerges or doesn't emerge. It is safe to say that the curtain is a very appealing and also effective, powerful motif. A motif that, for instance, I use myself in my personal artistic practice. However, I am convinced that it is incredibly important that you are aware of not only the history but also the potential of the curtain, to use it to its strengths, that it doesn't become an empty, hollow gimmick. If there is no true intent and purpose behind the use of a curtain, you simply fall through the basket and you simply use it as a visual spectacle and it becomes superficial and empty. So therefore it's important to look beyond the hype, beyond the trend, and be aware of the dialogue you engage with as soon as you put that curtain on the canvas. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Feel free to watch our video on abstract mark making next. Support us on Patreon and please consider subscribing to stay posted for more contemporary art. Bye.